Hi, people. Brini Maxwell here, and it's time for another room tour. Now, last time we took a look at my kitchen. This time around, I'll be joined by my alter ego Ben as we examine some of the more transitional spaces in the apartment, the foyer and the dressing room. Now, you may be confused if you've been watching this series for a while because the first episode was a tour of my entrance hall. And now I'm talking about my foyer. You can parse out the meanings of entrance hall and foyer a little differently. The foyer has a little bit more of a gracious connotation. While it is a space to pass through, it is a space that you linger in a little longer than a hallway. So my challenge with this apartment was to find uses for the spaces, both the foyer and the dressing room, that would further what I needed for the apartment itself. And so for the foyer, I chose to make it both a library and a bar. And we'll go into more details about both of those very shortly. Let's talk a little bit about the finishes in the apartment. I used this wonderful wallpaper, which is a vinyl wallpaper that looks like silk. Now the ceiling in this room has this distinctive little step design molded into it in plaster. And that is a feature in this building. All of the apartments have that little detail in them in some way, shape, or form. However, in this apartment, it is only in this room and the living room that that feature exists. So I wanted to maintain it here to make sure that the room reflected the feel of the apartment and the apartment building. Now, the light fixture you see in the room here is not one that I'm entirely happy with. It's a fixture that I used in my old apartment, actually, in the foyer. And the illumination is a little general for my tastes. I've never been that fond of overhead light. So I think I may want to replace it with track lighting. And I would like to find an actual set of vintage track lighting. If I can find one in brass, that'll be even better. Now, the bookshelves in this room really make the room my library, which is nice, you know. I wanted something that looked very 70s, obviously, and finding a vintage 70s wall unit was proving difficult and expensive, especially one that would fit the space that I have allotted to it. So I went to a display store where they still have the standards and brackets that you can find that were ubiquitous in the 1970s. And they now use them for store displays. So this was the perfect solution. And they really look period, and they were very inexpensive, including the glass shelves, which are tempered. So it was a very clever solution to a vintage problem. This console table is lovely, but it's a little bit of a problem child. The Formica has aged and not aged well, and so it chips very easily. I really should replace it, but I'm not all that motivated to do it. Below that is an X bench that I bought to fit the space here, as well as do double duty in the living room in case I wanted to use it as a coffee table or as extra seating for the dining table. It's very effective. On top of it, you'll see a couple of trays. Those trays act as hard surfaces that you can set drinks down when the bench is serving as a coffee table. Across from the bookshelves is my bar. So normally I use this bar as a little landing strip where I store my watches, and it can, however, be converted into a fully functional bar. And above the bar is this wonderful movie poster that I found. It's actually a Russian movie poster. I felt like the background had faded to a sort of gray-green that almost perfectly matched the wallpaper. I had it framed in that bright yellow frame. I think that sets it off the wall in a nice way. To the left, you'll see my Vanguard Studios Vanathane wall sculpture. It's not carved wood, it's actually expanded foam. And then it's been antiqued and detailed to look like an old wood carving. It's really beautifully done. It's very similar to the other Vanguard Studios piece that I have in the kitchen that hangs over the kitchen counter and from the vantage point of the living room points to this bar right here. Now, we don't have time to go into the details about all the different aspects of these rooms that we've talked about today. But if you'd like, you can come over to my Patreon to find a series of bonus videos that go into the likes of the books on my shelves and all the details about my bar and things like that. You can find all that at patreon.com/Brini Maxwell. Now I'm going to turn the video over to Ben to give you the details about the dressing room and home office that he's created. It's really more his domain than mine. Thanks, Brini. So the dressing room is off the foyer, and I've turned that into a little bit of a workspace for me. Sort of a home office in a way. And it's all sort of centered around this Cado-style wall unit that I found at an estate sale on Long Island. And actually, you can see Brini refinishing it on YouTube. I'll link the video below. So it's one of those units where you have these, uprights that are attached to a wall, and then you hang the furniture off of it. So they're shelves and drop-down desk and this chest here. So in order to expand it to fit the space and to give me a little bit more workspace, I had a Formica top made for it that extends the workspace to the left and gives me a place to put my computer, because obviously that wouldn't fit inside the drop-down desk. I had them make this little drawer insert, which serves as a place to rest one's elbow when you're working at the computer. It's really a lifesaver. So it's been a really effective way to repurpose this particular space and make it not just a dressing room, but also a space that I can actually work in. So there's a lot of fun things on the wall unit, I'm sure you see. So one of my favorite little things here is this little jewelry box that looks like a desk. It's sort of a wonderfully self-referential desk on a desk thing. And Brini has commandeered some of the drawers for her jewelry, but I've managed to reserve a few for things like stamps and return address labels and random office supplies. So it's effective. And it's a little feminine with the roses on it, as is the little cache-pot up there. The brutalist candlestick and this sort of modernist art print, a little bit more me. I asked you what you wanted, and you went ahead and did it anyway. I'm not mad, really. The B is for both of us. So the artwork in the room, the paintings, are leaning more towards spring. I kind of like that because the paintings in the rest of the apartment are very fall, fall colors, fall foliage, things like that. But this painting and the one behind me here are much more spring in their depictions. So I kind of like that you can come in here and it's eternally spring. So you'll notice that the wallpaper on the wall here is a flocked stripe that I think gives a really nice backdrop for the wall unit. It's subtle enough that it sort of looks like a neutral, but at the same time it provides a little interest. It is very similar to the paint color, which also makes it the room feel a little larger, I think. And the paint colors are the same that they are in the rest of the apartment, which, as I said in some of the other tours, unify the apartment into one space, even though there's a lot of sort of disparate things going on in the different rooms. Now, Brini has that big closet in the living room there that she talked about in the living room tour, but I have to make do with these two little closets here. And I had to be very careful about how I organize them because it's not just my clothing that lives in them. They also store office supplies. They store files. They store linens. It's also a linen closet. And I keep the pillows that I sleep on the sofa bed in one of them as well. So we don't have time to go into the details here, but if you want to see how I've put all that together, just go on over to the Patreon. I have a little bonus video there for you. Now, the lighting in the room, I wanted to as well feel very 1970s, so I got an old school track lighting with the big canisters, and that lights up the shelves, and it's a little bit of task lighting. And then for the dedicated workspace where the computer is, I hung a wonderful hanging light over it, and look how charming that is with little balls. Isn't that cute? Yeah, so that and all the lights in the apartment are on dimmers because dimmers. You need to be able to adjust your light, people. So the floors in these two rooms are the same as the floor in the entrance hall. They use that same technique. I've painted them with that wonderful Chinese red, and then I've gotten some nice Oriental rugs to go over them. Yeah, some of the rugs are better than others. This one is a little worn, but I do turn them to make sure that the wear is at least balanced a little bit. So that's about it for this one. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of these transitional spaces made useful. Don't forget to have a look at my Patreon for more information about the things that we've shown you here today. And you can also find my back content library there with lots of fun things to watch. And I post updates on a weekly basis that you can read for free. So come by Patreon for all of that and more at patreon.com/Brini Maxwell. Special thanks to our patrons who help make these videos possible with their membership. And the next video in my room tour series will be a tour of the most outrageous room in the apartment, the bathroom. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Until then, bye now.